Hey, I wanted to tell a story. And as you may have guessed from the title, it's this fun story of how I learned how to ride a bike. And I wanted to also share what I learned from learning how to ride a bike. So I've only had a couple of opportunities in my life to actually ever get on a bike and pedal. So the first time being in elementary school. And I remember it vividly. So I grew up in an apartment complex, and so my neighbor, we got along really well, and we turned out to be childhood best friends. Or we spent a lot of time together. So her parents came to love me too. I mean, who wouldn't? But we did sleepovers together. We carpooled to school. We One time she took me to the movies to watch Scary Movie, which is pretty intense as an elementary schooler. But we did a lot together, and we played outside a lot together. And I remember she eventually gave me her one of her old bikes, and it was so special to me because it was just this cute little pink bike with like little frills on the handles. And yeah, we weren't so well off growing up, and so we couldn't afford a bike for each of us, me and my siblings. So I really appreciated them giving me her old bike. And so, okay, I don't officially count this though as learning how to ride a bike because it had training wheels. And so yeah, so that was the first time I ever got on a bike. And then the second time, I think it was in high school or college or, somewhere around there. It was like a random summer day. I think we were just bored, but I asked an old friend, to teach me how to ride her bike. I think it was like a mountain bike, but yeah, she did the whole, held on to the handles while I started pedaling, and then she let go and watched me ride off. so, so yeah, I still don't officially count that as me learning how to ride though, because that was pretty much the extent of it. Um, she just let me go. I did it for a little bit, and then that was it. We called it a day. So I didn't really ride off on my own out on the streets. I yeah. So that was the second time I think I ever got on a bike. So fast forward to this year in August, I was setting goals for myself. I And then one of those goals was to complete a triathlon. Just, why not? So I knew though I needed to learn how to ride a bike first in order to do that and to ride it well, right? So I was like, yes, let's do this. Let's learn how to ride a bike. Let's go. But I didn't put together an actionable plan to do that. And because I needed to get one first, and then, yeah. So I just put that on the back burner and didn't really think about it. So it wasn't until in September, this guy I was seeing asked if I knew how to ride a bike, and I admitted that I couldn't. So it was at that point I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna learn how to ride a bike, not for you, but for me, but also maybe for you too, but for me. So after that, I one day just downloaded OfferUp. I found this seller selling two old bikes for like $20 each. So that was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get this. So I asked my stepdad to take me in his truck. We went, met the seller. The bikes were pretty old, yes, because they were just sitting in his garage, but we took them because it was just so cheap. And then I found a local bike repair shop to inspect these bikes to fix it up. And it turned out to be like 150 each to fix up the bikes, to add some parts or fix, you know, whatever he needed to do. So I was like, oh, okay. But it was still, relatively cheaper than what was on the market. And my stepdad really insisted, right, on getting these bikes fixed. so that me and my mom could ride them. So he offered to pay as well. And as much as he did this for me, I think he also did this for him. And I just think it's a fatherly thing to do, right? Go get your kid a bike. So I really appreciated that moment. And I'm glad he took me to go get the bikes, go convince me to get them fixed. So, we left the bikes with the bike repair shop. And then a week later, they were ready. And I was so excited that day. I was like, okay, you know what? Let's go. Mom, we're going. So that night, me and my mom took the bikes. And okay, so I knew how to get on and pedal, but that was it. I didn't know the proper footwork to stop or start or turn or do all those advanced things with a bike. So keep that in mind. We were just riding in our neighborhood, and then my mom, she decides to take this turn outside of the neighborhood and out onto the sidewalk in the streets. And I'm like, okay, you know what? Let's go. I know how to ride, so I follow her, and then I'm doing all right. I'm riding, and then get close to we we get to the stoplight, and it's a very freaking narrow turn. Okay, it's a very narrow turn. I tried to turn at the stoplight, and then I just I couldn't, and I ended up falling over. It was a pretty tough fall. I fall over, the bike falls on top of me. I'm like, and then the funny thing is that at that stoplight, it was a red light too. So this this whole row of cars just saw me just eat it, and so yeah, I knew they saw me. I try to get on the bike again and start riding, but I couldn't again, and I fall off again. So at this point, I'm like, okay, I just did a little walk of shame back home. So I walked home, walked my bike home, and it was still a red light. So all those cars just witnessed the sequence of events that, yeah, I will think about for a very long time. But yeah, I walk my bike home, and then I meet my mom back up in front of the house, and then I just told her I don't know how to ride a bike, and I didn't tell her about the falls, but she then spends the next hour or so teaching me how to get on, get off, do all that advanced stuff. So we end up just doing just that for the next hour. And you know what? That was a really nice bonding moment. So I appreciate that it was my mom who ended up teaching me, right, these things. And yeah, I'll never forget that. So I can now say I'm a proud biker. So for fun nowadays, I like to just ride my bike out in the neighborhood, adjacent neighborhood, um, out onto the streets, and I do it confidently, so I'm not anxious or scared about doing that. I just ride. So yeah, um, it was an unforgettable experience that whole day, right? Of just getting the bikes, learning how to ride a bike, actually doing it. Yeah, and during that whole day, or just during the whole experience, it just made me feel like a kid again. Like I was enjoying myself so much just being out there and just, going through the whole process. And yeah, I just felt so alive. Like it was just so fun. And so after that night, I was processing all of this, right? Just, oh my gosh, I rode a bike. Oh yeah. So I was thinking it through and just reflecting on the day. And then I was thinking, why did this make me feel like a kid again? What does that really mean? And so yeah, when I got to thinking, I was like, oh, was it because I finally got to experience something that I missed out on in my childhood, right? Having my parents teach me how to ride a bike. So I was just thinking about it more. And then, yeah, I came to the realization that when I say things like, oh, I just feel like a kid again, or when I do things that make me feel like a kid again, what I mean to say is when I'm doing things, I just feel so present, right? I'm just so in the moment. And that's, yeah, that was my realization. When I was out learning how to ride, that's all I was focusing on, was just getting on, not falling, learning how to ride this damn bike, turning, you know, not trying to crash. I was focused solely on just that. I didn't think about any worries I had, any anxieties, nothing else was in my brain than to just learn how to do this and to do it well without serious injuries. So, yeah, I was focused solely on just that. And with that realization, I also was thinking that I feel like that's just the job of a kid, right? Is to just be. And I feel like it's just as simple as that. As kids, that's that's all there is. It's just there's nothing to do except to just be and to be who we are. And then when we grow up, we become programmed. We learn things from society or from our parents or from just our surroundings to add more onto that. So now it's not just to be, but it's now to be liked or to be accepted or to be successful, right? We add more on to us of what we think we need to do, what we think we need to be, and we just add on all this pressure to be more than just who we are and to just be more than who we are at that moment. So, yeah, I mean, this when we say we yearn for simpler times, right? When the days when our childhood, it was just so simple and easy and we miss being a kid. I think what we really mean is that we just miss being in the moment, right? And just being present without everything else that's going on, right? Without thinking about any of that and living, just living, being there. And I used to, yeah, I used to say this with such embarrassment, whenever I'd say or think that I feel like a kid sometimes, or when I do things that makes me feel like this, I was embarrassed or just equated it to mean that I felt childish or it meant that I was immature. But now that I've, with these thoughts, these realizations, it's yeah, it's nothing to be embarrassed about. I love being like a kid. I love feeling like this. I love feeling alive, and it's just yeah, I I love it. And I'm going to strive to always feel this way, right? With everything that I do. Um, I think we all should. And I know it's easier said than done. Focus on the moment. Don't worry about the past. Don't feel guilty anymore about what you've done. Don't worry about the future. All of that stuff. I know it's harder than it is, but there's really nothing else than feeling like you're coming back to yourself, right? When you're living in the moment, when you're present. And so, I really believe to whoever's watching this that you can do that. That whatever you need to do to stop being ashamed or stop worrying about the past and what you've done, and stop being anxious about the future, and just really focusing on what we have right now that's in front of us. Whatever you need to do that. I know you can do that. I know you can come back to yourself. And yeah, I know you can feel like a kid again.